Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, we're doing a mini episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's turning into a frog with me tonight?
You got Vincent Goodwin from the Some of My Friends Read Comics podcast.
Welcome back.
Howdy. Good to hear you.
And you got Joseph LeRae here, and I got to tell you, this game's really making me crave some wasabi.
That's fair. And Vince, what are we here to talk about? Because I would have never played this without you.
Okay, so I may be butchering the title. I think the official, well, there's no official title. For the Frog, the Bell Tolls. I was also calling it Frog, the Bell Tolls. I don't know. But it's called For the Frog, the Bell Tolls. It is a original Game Boy game. And the reason it's of most interest to me is that it is the game made by the Link's Awakening team right before they made Link's Awakening. It recently got on the Japanese Nintendo Switch Online service, but it never had an official English translation. And it has a couple characters from this game appear in Link's Awakening. If you remember the dude where you had to like dig and go find something and you had to cut up a bunch of bushes, there was a guy with a little twirly hair and there's a bunch of frogs bouncing around him. That dude is, he's not really the villain. He's like a rival, I guess, of this game. Sir Richard or Prince Richard. He's in Link's Awakening. So you're wondering, what's that dude with the frogs deal? He's from this game, For the Frog, the Bell Tolls, never released in America. And like previous episodes I've been on, and like Terra Enigma, I've always been interested, like, what's the deal with this game? So here we are. Always wanted to play it.
So I always like to start with our memories. You kind of said yours. I knew this game existed because at some point I read the same thing that you did, or maybe even you had told me. Somebody told me that this was a game they made, that the people made before Link's Awakening, which was Nintendo R&D 1. So I was interested. I'm like, okay, I am very interested. And then I just forgot about it. Like I know I downloaded it on my phone because it was English translated, and I just never got around to it till a couple weeks ago.
And it looks a lot like Link's Awakening, like graphically, like, yes. And I'm not sure if it was the translation patch that we played has the same font as Link's Awakening, which makes you feel real comfortable and right at home.
That's probably the translation patch, I'm guessing.
Joe can probably tell us the truth because I think Joe knows a little more about this game than
he
we
does.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, so my experience with this game is I picked this up about 13 years ago when I was over in Japan. I was not aware of the history of the game. I just picked it up because I thought the box art looked pretty interesting, and it on the back of it, it looked like a Zelda game. Upon booting it up, then I thought at first I was playing like a Zelda spin-off. First appearances, it looks exactly like that. And as you guys mentioned, it was made by the Link's Awakening team, but it was also made by Intelligent Systems that does all the Fire Emblem games as well.
Oh,
and Paper Mario. And Advance Wars.
That's cool. Okay, I did not know that. I knew very little about this game. I just knew it existed. I didn't realize it was on the Japanese Nintendo Switch store.
Yeah, that's actually like the week that I texted you that we should be doing this episode to a little peek behind the curtain. It got released that week, and I'm like, oh, and people are like, what is that game? And so I'm like, I got to tell people about this. Mike, give me a platform. Here we are. So.
I'm happy to. I mean, I'm trying to do more where I take people's suggestions on the show for games and other things, just because then I'll experience stuff that I will never have touched otherwise.
Right.
Like this.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a curiosity for me. Joe, I'm fascinated that you just like picked it out of a lineup and you're like, this is a game that wasn't released in America too. Did that inform your decision? I don't think I've ever seen this in America.
I didn't realize at the time that it was not released in America. I just, like I said, I just really picked it off the box cover more than anything. Because if you look this game up and see the cover of it, it's a very striking cover, definitely very colorful. And so it just draws your eye to it. Yeah, I did not realize this was not released in America until I started researching it and trying to play this game. Back then, there was no guides, and that English patch was not a thing yet.
I did use a guide that was based not on the translation patch. Like, we're going to call this the port town.
Yeah,
so go back to the port town, and I'm like, this is not helpful because this is like I wanted you to tell me go back to a la mode or something.
Yeah, it was a little difficult. It took a little bit of guessing by using the guides to figure out what the hell is going on.
Yeah, YouTube walkthroughs are more helpful.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah, and this game is on YouTube. You can find speedruns. You can find a lot of stuff about this game, which is not always the case.
Yeah. But there weren't that many guides for this game. A lot more for Terra Enigma than there ever were. But Terra Enigma, I guess, was in English in Europe, so I guess that's different. But
yeah, where this was never only in Japan. So
Did anybody find out why this was never released in America? Because I couldn't find anything about it.
Well, it's because it's not like that it was late, because it's not late in the Game Boy lifespan, which is like the problem that like Secret of Mana 2 had, and again, the aforementioned Terra Enigma and other games. Like, it wasn't late, then like this is not worth translating like Mother 3. Like, it was before Link's Awakening. And it's made by Nintendo. I mean, it's a little weird, but no, I have no idea why it didn't get translated. It's very text heavy.
Yeah.
Maybe that was it, but like,
It could be.
I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe it was one of those times where like the sales, and I'm just talking out my butt. So, you know, anybody who actually is a real For the Frog and Bell Tolls expert.
Nintendo's got to have a soft spot for this, because like you mentioned, some of the characters show up in Link's Awakening, and also some of the items show up in later games. And then I know the Doctor in this game shows up in the WarioWare games.
Yeah, and I have to imagine Smash Bros has some.
Oh yeah, they got trophies.
Yeah.
Then why does this never get re-released in some shape or form? People would play this.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm like, this is like classic, like Mike, when I was texting you about this, I'm like, I'm jonesing for more Link's Awakening. And I've played all the games from this team. What else do they have? I guess I'll play this game. Like that's the pitch to me.
Because this is a top-down and then also 2D side scroller that just really like feels like Link Awakening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of it's 2D platforming. And I'm now getting like ahead of myself, but feels like other like Game Boy era and 8-bit 2D platformers. Like I think it looks a lot like Wonder Boy. A lot of the time, it looks a lot like the Game Boy Kid Icarus and Balloon Kid. And Balloon Kid a lot. And it plays like Balloon Kid.
Yeah, now you mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no like history with that one.
Balloon Kid, do you know Balloon Fight?
Yes.
Okay, so they made, there's one mode where you have like a 2D platformer and it goes like right to left. They expanded it into like a full ass game on the Game Boy with like real levels and everything like that. It came out on the 3DS. Just acquire it, Mike. It's a very quick, breezy game. It's like 5 levels. You can beat it in 40 minutes.
Already have it.
It's fun, and it's a lot like these 2D things where it's going from right to left, and like you're kind of like, it's the swimming mechanic from Mario, but it's the same thing, you know, with the balloons and you jump and everything like that. But yeah, check out Balloon Kid. That's a fun game. I don't think it's probably big enough for an episode of this show, but it's a fun one.
Okay. Hey, you do get me to play random shit like this one. So.
But I just actually found out that I was talking to somebody else about Balloon Kid because I was talking about this. Balloon Kid got a Game Boy Color remake but just Japan only, but there is an English translation patch I found. So
almost everything has some kind of patch out there.
Yeah, it really does, especially from Missouri, yeah.
Which makes me so happy that things become available for other people.
Mm-hmm.
That they find a way to put these games out there so other people can experience it. And that has always made me happy.
And I feel like this was probably one of the earlier translation patches. Like I'm talking like, you know, early 2000s at the latest.
I've heard of it before, so like I know of it. Like I knew of it, you know, before you mentioned it for the podcast. So
yeah, and I mean it's such a big deal that it is it was on archive.org is the way you can find it. So there you go.
Most are, by the way. Just to put that out there. But no, this game looks so much like Link Awakening with the way the sprites are, the way the characters look. Like it feels like you're playing Link's Awakening, other than the fact that it isn't, the battle system is nothing like a Zelda game.
Right.
Yeah.
But like it's got kind of a map. The like save or the item screen is very, very much Link's Awakening. You press pause and it renders like a little screen with all your like different items you can pick. But yeah, it's very much like a weird trial run for Link's Awakening. And it's R&D 1, so it's not like it was some random team that like pitched to get a Zelda. Like they are like the real deal people. So it's very weird.
Wonder why it never come back in any shape or form.
Yeah, I don't know.
And again, Mother 3.
Yeah, but yeah, no, and then it's just a weird hodgepodge of like different Mario or different Nintendo graphics. Like I picked out the fireballs in one of the dungeons looked a lot like the fireballs in Super Mario Land 2. I also picked out like there's these little like floating platforms that are like two little kind of like what are they? It's a hexagonal things that like hexagonal squares that you fly around, and that's Super Mario Land 1. And then like you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
At the very end of Mario Land 1 levels where you like sit on those like floating platforms to get to the top part. Yeah, those look right out of those look like they're right out of that in here. It's kind of a weird. I mean, it's 8-bit and the Game Boy's not that tall, so I'm sure graphically, like they kind of repeat. But yeah,
I didn't even think about that or catch it.
And it's just a really cool game. I don't know how much we want to get into it because I just have like a list of like just cool things that I liked in it.
I mean, one, I do want to mention like the battle system of this is very different than what I was expecting.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting because I did not expect the battle system to be the way it is.
Yeah, it's an auto battler almost. Like you run up to the character and then you just kind of like fight at each other.
Yeah.
And you can press B to like quit out of the fight, but it doesn't, always seem to register.
Yeah.
Like you're like, okay, I'm gonna go walk up to this spider, and this spider will take 3 hearts of my life, but I'll kill it. And like, well, shit, I only have 2.5 hearts left, so I probably shouldn't touch another spider. I mean, and like honestly, like the penalty for death isn't that much. You go back to a hospital, they put a little counter up on your thing, just like on your save file, just like a Zelda game. So you're like, shit, I fucked up 15 times. But other than that, like but also like it's really, I think it gates you because it's like, oh well, you cannot kill this tree monster even with a full bar of health until you either get like another extra health container or you find the weapon or the shield that modifies your stats so that you can then defeat this evil tree. And that's kind of how it gates your progress. But it's also like just a complete roll of the dice. You're like, got a full bar of health. Let's see if I can kill this tree. Oh, I can't kill this tree. Okay, well, that was a real gotcha moment. And then the boss fucks with you too. That centipede boss, did y'all fight that thing?
Yeah.
Did you mess up ever?
Yes.
I don't know how I would have been so pissed off if I didn't have save states.
Me too, because that's what I did, obviously. I grabbed it first before I looked up the guy. I'm like, what do I do? And I just went and touched it and it just murdered me. And the guy's like, hit the tail. I'm like,
it's like a Goma kind of thing. You touch the tail. And I mean, and it is telegraphed. Like there's a dude that says like right before you go in there, like kill its tail. But if you touch it once and then attack its tail, you will run. You have to have if you do a perfect run against this thing, you will end up with 1 heart of health. Yeah. Otherwise you're fucked. And you have to do the whole dungeon again. And
you have to have enough hearts.
Yeah. I think you can maybe quit the battle halfway through if you're like, this is not going well, and maybe give yourself like your wine or potion to like heal yourself. And thinking is maybe what you could do. But that, as Joe also acknowledged, like you press the B to quit out of the battle, it doesn't always register, or does it seems to do it on its own timer?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be terrible, I feel like, because like the way the game felt is that if you missed anything, like if you missed any power upgrade, you wouldn't be able to get through the game. Like you have to find all the secrets, and none of them seem super challenging. They follow the same Zelda philosophy. Hey, look at this bush that just looks a little different.
Yeah.
Why don't you, chop it down?
but it's tied to consumables that are only like, they're weird drops. Like you can only kill a tree if you have a saw, and saws cost 6 coins. So don't run out of saws because there might be a tree that you really do need to kill. It's very weird in that way. But yeah, like the battle system's weird. I was like immediately like, fuck this. I don't like this. And at some points I was like, this is awesome. I love like being the frog. Oh, I just teased that, but it's in the title. When you turn into a frog and then you're like, I can just eat any of these bugs that gave me so much trouble as a human. Like that was fun.
Yeah,
that was, yes. It was a very feel-good moment.
I was just going to say, I like when you become stronger, when you run into the enemies, that just fly off the screen when you're at the levels.
The only problem with that is you don't get any like items for that. But yeah.
It's true, but by that point, you're like, you have so much money at that point, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I love that you start off the game, you're like, you're a prince. You've got like 1 million coins. Fuck it. Like, who cares? You buy anything you want in this entire game. And then you lose it like a little bit into the way. And I'm like, that was very clever.
Yeah.
It was very cute how they did stuff like that. How, he does go from having money to having nothing. Like, that was just really cute to me.
Like, how much money do you have? Wow, that's exactly the amount of money I need for this item. 1.4 million nuts or whatever they called it in the translation. Or
I just love that, how the guy just says it. He's like, yeah, I'll take that.
That was pretty cool.
Like, maybe you should. I mean, hey, it's a tactic for life. Don't tell somebody how much you have sometime when you have a price.
That's a tactic for salary negotiation. How much are you willing to pay me? Not how much am I willing to work for?
I mean, I've gotten burned on that in real life. I'm pretty sure somebody asked. Yeah, no, I did. When I was right out of high school, I had a job, and then I moved from one state to another, and I was looking for a job. And the guy's like, "What you made at your last job?" I'm like, $9 an hour. He's like, "Okay, cool. We'll start you at that."
Fuck you.
Little did I know that I'll never forget. I was sitting in the break room, and they were offering me another job for second shift. And he's like, how much do you make? And I'm like, 9. He's like, you've been making 15 working for me. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. That was a nice person then. Yeah. I hate how like something's like, what is your current salary range? Like, just bump that by 15, 20,000, y'all. Just do it.
I purposely lie now. I purposely always say more than what I'm making and more than like, and see what they do and let them counter and go, okay, I like you guys. I'll think about it. No, don't ever tell them the truth.
Yep.
Because it will be used against you.
Mm-hmm. Much like this villain. Life lessons from a Game Boy game. We could have learned then and not been screwed. But, you know.
If only it was released in America.
I mean, I'm assuming a lot of like the dialogue. Well, of course, the dialogue is a little like goofy, and I'm assuming that's all just because of the fact that, you know, it's translated by people and not by a company.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so I got a little silly, a little like wackadoo there. I feel like probably like the food puns were probably already there because like the towns are like named after like ice cream, like a la mode, and that kind of stuff. Like the food theming was probably there from the beginning.
Yeah,
I agree. That seems like something that they would have went with anyway. Yeah. And like Nintendo Island.
Yeah. Well, even my walkthrough that didn't have the translation patch called it Nintendo Island. So that one is accurate.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that one was fun. That was a fun mission where you go into like a little like you're like in the middle of like you ride a boat to an island and then there's like this weird office building in the middle of it. Which Pokemon Red and Blue also have like you're gonna go to the Game Freak headquarters just in the middle of this game kind of vibe, and now it's cool.
I forgot about that fact.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool game overall. I don't like the battle system. I like that it's very Link's Awakening styled. Even the battle system's fine.
I like the battle system. I was surprised that it bothers you.
I think it bothers me just because I go into a situation not knowing what to expect, and then I can't like leave it until I'm dead. Like that frustrates me.
Had the ability to fix said problem before it happened.
Yeah. But like if I had been playing in like 1991, 92, whenever this came out, and this was like my one of few Game Boy games, like I don't fucking know. I keep dying. This is like Boomer's Adventure in Asmic World, and I don't have the instruction manual. I'm just dying here.
Okay, now that's fair. I will completely agree with that. Like if you were playing this the old fashioned way, that could be really upsetting.
Joe, did you play it? You said you played it on a cartridge, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Did you beat it?
I did not beat it, no.
Okay.
No, mostly just because, like you guys said, if you do not get every collectible, you pretty much lock yourself out of the game.
Uh-huh.
Which I don't like. I think that is this bad video game-ness because as a guy who plays a lot of video games, I don't usually grab everything. I usually skip a ton of shit on purpose.
I'm wondering if it did that, though, just to increase the play life, because Game Boy games were not known for being long, and maybe that was just a way they could pad it out.
I mean, because it's all based on gating. Yeah. I mean, but I'm not good at this. Like, I thought I just beat Metroid Zero Mission a couple months ago, and I was like, man, I'm so good at this. I scoured every corner. I got so many missile containers and E-tanks compared to like last time I played. And it still said like I only got 61%. I don't know where the fuck any of that shit is. So I am not good at finding stuff. And this game is very like disorienting also, like because it's got like a lot of like tunnels that take you places. The map is useless.
There's a map?
Yeah, if you press pause and then the map is like one of the items on the item screen.
Yeah.
But it looks like a Mario Land map that just like shows like these are 4 islands when you're like pulled out. Like it's completely fucking useless.
Never used it.
Yeah, it's not like the Link's Awakening map. You press select and you're like, okay, I see this. I got to get over to this square. I'm over in this squares because the game has a thing where it likes to be. It's very linear and it's very story driven. Like you go to a place and then you get like poisoned or you like win. There was one where like I won some dungeon and it's like congratulations, and it transported me to some place else on the map that I'd been. And then the walkthrough is like, go back to the port town. And I'm like, I do not know how to go back to the port town.
Oh, I know exactly what part you're talking about. Yeah.
And I even like looked on YouTube for a couple walkthroughs, and like that was where their video split was, and they did not show me how to walk to this place. So I ended up like wandering like because it's like Zelda, like with the square screens. I walked everywhere I thought I could possibly go until I ended up remembering like, oh, I got to do the snake den. But like I got very lost, like wondering like where the heck am I supposed to go next? And I know my son recently played Link's Awakening and had the same problem. I don't have the problem with Link's Awakening because I played it, a ton as a 9-year-old. I know exactly what to do in that game. But he's like, Dad, I have no idea where to go. And I'm like, you're being ridiculous. All you have to do is talk to this guy, and then you get a can of dog food, and then he's going to give you bananas, and it's going to be fine. Like, why didn't you know how to do that? because it's similarly obtuse. But I'm
There were
sure.
there was one part where, like, talk about doing things wrong, where you're supposed to transform into a frog and then walk by all these guards that you can't beat and sneak your way to a mine. The first time I did it, I snuck the whole way there with not being a frog, using save states to get there.
Nice.
And then realized, oh, that's not what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, this game, and then it also has like weird like flags, like you have to talk to everybody in town.
Oh God, yeah, and you have to like look at the signs to see if they change.
Right, like there was one like it's like I need the boat. The walkthrough says I gotta take the boat to go across the boat, and even the walkthrough's like I don't fucking know, just talk to everybody, and then if the words change, then like because like you talk to him, you talk to the guy outside the boat, and he's like that's cool, you want a boat, I'm not gonna help you. And then you go inside, and the other guy's like, he kind of gives a clue, like, you should probably go check out the mine. And then you got to go walk over to the mine and realize you can't go through the mine because there's a big block. And then now he'll be like, oh, I'll help you with that. Like, that's the only way to, like, trigger that flag. But, like, it's really hard to know because, like, there's just so many NPCs that just give you, like, bullshit. Like, they don't help you at all. So I don't want to talk to half of the NPCs here to know which ones are, like, the relevant ones. Dragon Quest VII had this problem, too. Like, there's like little nitpicks that I'm like, it's 1992, 1991. Like, I'll give them a pass on this, but they're frustrating in the moment, like those kind of things.
No, and that's fair. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you being irritated by something that comes from a different time.
Well, and I know I've seen it better later.
Yeah, because this is such an early game. This is what 1992.
Yeah, and to be fair, Link's Awakening does a lot of the same bullshit. I just know it better, and I had friends to talk about it with.
You mean you didn't have friends to talk about Karu no Tami Nikani Wanuru?
I didn't. No, I did not. I did not have friends for Kaminatu. Nope, I did not. For this game that's got a pun on an Ernest Hemingway, For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Yes.
Yeah, what a weird.
I never even looked. Does the Hemingway story have anything to do with turning into a frog and like having a rival prince and going to like an ice cream kingdom? I can't imagine Hemingway would write.
I doubt it.
I would doubt that.
I mean, I have not read a Hemingway story since I was in high school. So.
Yeah, for what did we read? The Old Man and the Sea. Yeah. I think it's only because it was the shortest one. That's the only reason they gave it.
The only thing I know about him is that he had enough of life and took a shotgun to himself. So
yeah, he was a big alcoholic, had 6-toed cats. I know that too.
Oh, I didn't know he was alcoholic, but that makes sense. Okay, that makes the shotgun thing makes a lot more sense then.
Yeah.
Well, he was a writer. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and he had a toilet that faced out to the neighbors, so he could wave at them. He wasn't a well man, but I don't think I think he was well enough not to write stories about turning into frogs and snakes in an ice cream kingdom. So what are you gonna do?
The book that they're punning on is set during the Spanish Civil War, and it's about blowing up a bridge.
There are bridges in this game, and there is an earthquake.
There is.
Which is actually pretty cool for the time to like actually have like a transformed map, like after you walk through it. Like that is a pretty interesting.
Yeah. There were cool moments, like the fact that you can turn into a snake if you eat it. Because throughout the game, you can turn into a frog because you're cursed by a witch because she was working for the enemy or something, so she turns you into a frog. I couldn't really
follow the plot. I couldn't follow the plot.
Yeah, kinda. They kind of explain it at the end, but not really.
I had no idea what was going on. I'm just like, game fun. All right.
Yeah,
that was about it.
But that's where it also started reminding me a lot of like Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap with the animal transformations, which and also the 2D dungeons look a lot like Wonder Boy sometimes. Wonder Boy is a classic Master System series. And it was on like a lot of different systems, and Sega Genesis as well. Adventure Island got based off of it as well. It's got a whole fragmented timeline. But Wonder Boy 3, The Dragon's Trap, was on a near Switch launch title. Yeah, beautiful, like graphical overall. Yeah, it's so awesome. Pretty.
I know of it.
Yeah, that's a fun.
That's
game.
a cool game. The soundtrack is great for it too.
Monster Boy, was that the spin-off they did?
It's like it's a weird. There's Monster Boy, there's Wonder Boy in Monster Land. Then it's not Wonder Boy like the Tenacious D song, but yeah, it's Wonder Boy in Monsterland, and then there's Monster Boy, and then there's Monster Girl, Monster World 4.
Isn't it a rights issue too? Why there's so many different names or something?
Yeah, and then it got kind of acquired and turned into a caveman dude for Adventure Island. There was a whole Retronauts about this, like I would say 15 years ago. But The point is like Wonder Boy Dragon Trap, Wonder Boy 3 Dragon's Trap is a Master System 8-bit 2D platformer that's like surprisingly really good when it has a great graphical style. It was one of those games where you could press the L and R button and switch between the old style and the new style, and it was like on the fly. It was really cool. It's a really good port. And this feels very much like that because what happens is you go to different dungeons and you turn into different animals. I think you turn into like pigs and things like that. So like there's certain dungeon, so like you could turn into a frog in this game and like, well, I can't fight shit, but I can eat bugs, but I can swim in water and I can jump really high. And that's a pretty cool power. So then like, and this is interesting for the time that they're like, this is how we expand the move set beyond 2 buttons and a D-pad. Is like, we don't just give them another item like in Zelda, where like we give them power bracelets or we're giving Pegasus boots or something like that. We're going to transform the character into a different animal and then he can do other stuff. And that I feel like doesn't show up until like a third of the way through the game. Like you get pretty far before you turn into any animals.
Yeah, it's a bit before the frog, and then you meet the snakes that can eat you as a frog because you can't beat them. You can barely beat them as a human. Where then you get somebody tells you if you eat an egg, you'll turn into a snake. But then to turn back from a frog or a snake, you have to then eat an apple.
Yep. Yeah. And if you fall into water,
sounds so weird.
And you fall into water, you turn into a frog. So I mean, the thing is like from a puzzle design standpoint, it's a really cool thing because these are like single screen. It's like Zelda, Link's Awakening. It's got like one single like classic like square screen. You fall over and like, okay, well shit, I need to get over there, and I need to be a snake when I get over there. But the snake can't jump very high, and if I fall in the water, I'm going to turn back into a frog. And I don't want that because I need to have the snake powers to be able to do this. So how do I do that? Like that's a very classic puzzle in this game. And I think it works really well. Like it becomes a little bit of a puzzle platform. You're like, okay, how do I do it? The misstep I think is that it ties your animal transformations to consumables, which like, you have to eat an egg. So you have to go into town, or if you defeat certain enemies, they will give you eggs to transform.
Plus, the game is pretty good about making sure you always have what you need.
Oh, really? It actually does that? Like the way that like Zelda games give you bombs if they know you need bombs?
Like anytime that the game is going to want you to have eggs or an apple, I was always finding things to help me to do that. There would be like a chest would have an egg, or plus you can just buy it. And what I did is I just bought the max amount that I could carry and I was good to go.
Because I was super anxious that I was going to be like trapped and soft locked in a dungeon because I kept going back and forth in this one room. I'm like, fuck, I fell into the water, or I shouldn't have turned into a snake because I actually had to do this. And I just wasted 3 eggs testing this out. And of course I have save states. It's fine now.
Yeah, but I get where you're coming from. You're thinking of it from a different type of standpoint. That makes
it creates a huge amount of anxiety for me, which is probably good to a certain level in the gameplay. Like they want to create that friction. But at the same time, I'm like, I would have just preferred to be able to like either like I just played Mario versus Donkey Kong, which has like the 3 colored switches, like red, yellow, blue. And you got to touch the one and be like, oh, well, if I touch the blue one, then suddenly the red one's, open. And then that doesn't work out for me. Right. I'm used to that. It was scratching that same itch, but it was consumable. Like you can only do this once. Oh my God. But I'm sure if I'd walked to another room and killed a bug, I would have gotten an egg if I'd run out. Right.
Yes. The game does a very good job of dropping what you need and having them in chests, because you'll see chests all the time as you beat enemies. They'll drop coins or they'll drop a heart. I mean, I got used to the combat. Like I kind of liked it. Like especially if you get stronger, you just like touch them and then all of a sudden it just works. Like it grew on me a lot more than I expected as the game progressed.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that was a classic like Vince situation where I'm like, I do not like this, but if I just give it 10 minutes, I'll be fine. Kind of thing.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I get why it bothered you.
I think it's more the gating. I think it's the more that like, I don't know if this thing is going to murder me in one hit, which I guess is no different than like if I go into Dragon Quest and I'm like, oh shit, it's a skeleton. It's doing half of my health in each hit. I'm dead.
Yeah, it was a lot of gatekeeping, but that's just, is that the era?
It is. It's
the era. I mean, this is a turn-based RPG without you having control over the battling.
Fair.
But like, and it would be no different than just like you are fighting a level 14 and you're level 2, you're fucked. Like it should, if it said that to me, I'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I shouldn't have gone over here. I need to avoid these guys. And I guess I would have died that first time. But like that battle with the centipede really pissed me off. Just like in theory, I'm like, man, if I hadn't had save states and had to walk all the way back here, I would not have been a happy camper.
I would have been pissed too, because And the funny thing is you run into that centipede again, but if you're a frog, you can just eat him.
Yeah.
And that's a great power fantasy. That's cool. Like that little like triangle, very much intelligent systems, Fire Emblem is a very cool idea. The rock, paper, scissors kind of thing. That's cool.
It was so cute too. The way the frog just like touches bugs and just eats them. Like the wasp that will murder you. Hey, if you're a frog, you just eat the wasp.
Yeah. I guess you're like, fuck those wasps. Those guys suck.
And I guess
like,
the story is weird to me.
Might be a translation error too.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that is fair. I mean, the way it felt like is that you're a prince, but you're also friends with the Prince Richard, who's an asshole, and you're both trying to rescue the princess.
Yes.
And like you also get turned into a frog because the witch is working for the king that took over this castle, but he happens to be a giant snake, so he just wants to eat you. So
yeah.
I was immediately like, I don't like the fact that I'm not Prince Richard, the dude from my from Link's Awakening. I was like, wait, why am I not him? Because I think I always assumed I was him. I was the dude, cool because he has cool design. He's actually got a better design than the main character. So. Highly
agree. I do not like the design of your main character. For some reason, it's just he was just bland. I wanted to be Richard because I know Richard. I mean, this is one of my favorite games of all time, Link Awakening. So, like, I want to play as the guy that, is from there.
Right. But it's a classic story where I'm just like, okay, well, I don't follow this. I talked to a witch. She drugged me. She gave me a roofie. And then I lost all my money, and now I'm a frog. And then
and she goes on vacation after roofing.
And then you sometimes meet some people like, you're part of Delmarin's crew. And I'm like, I don't know who Delmarin is. Is that the guy that drugged me? I don't know.
No, that's the guy that attacked the castle.
Okay.
And we just had somebody just join us who just fell down a well.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kyle. You may know me on certain online circles as Chibi UFO. And I do apologize for being so late. You see, I just caught the last ferry from the Custard Kingdom, and it was very slow. Everything was just backed up.
I thought you were going to say you caught the last train from Clarksville. That's a joke that other people probably don't get.
Stop monkeying around.
Okay, thank you. I'm a big fan. I was. For some reason, I liked the monkeys when I was a kid. I liked the monkeys a lot.
The VH1 Monkeys made-for-TV movie was pretty good.
I enjoyed the monkeys. I wasn't like a huge fan or anything, but I don't know, they were fun.
They were fun when I was a kid, and I had the chance to meet one of them at one convention. I didn't bother, but I saw him. He was sitting sitting at his booth, being all angry because nobody was paying to see him.
Oh no!
Yeah, he was old, and I was there for Counselor Troy. I was not there for him. He was no Counselor Troy. So, Kyle, what is your history with this game?
Well, it's so funny that you should ask me that. My history is a little funky. So, I grew up, of course, with the Game Boy. I love the Game Boy a lot. In fact, the older I actually get, the more I appreciate the Game Boy. And I loved and appreciated the Game Boy as a kid. Because, that saved me on so many car trips and vacations and just, times where, if I didn't have video gaming in any other format, I always had the Game Boy. If I couldn't sleep at night and I didn't want to get out of bed, though, or whatever, I'll play my Game Boy. Or if I was in the bathroom, I'll play the Game Boy. If I'm, I'm at my grandma's house and I'm not allowed to bring a game console, I'll, bring the Game Boy.
Yeah.
So, and I grew up with the game that the staff of this game later developed, Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, and I loved that game dearly. So I remember hearing about this game in about, 2009, 2008, and I remember hearing about this game, and it sounded really cute and interesting, and it's like, so this was made by the staff of Link's Awakening, and this was sort of the precursor to Link's Awakening. They're like, we're going to test out the Game Boy hardware and see what we could do. And then I didn't even bother playing it before it got the fan translation, because it's like, well, there's going to be so much Japanese. I don't know Japanese at all. What the hell am I going to do with this game? I'm not going to get far. I'll get stuck on something, and it's what's the point? And then, lo and behold, about 2 years later, after 2 to 3 years later, after I discovered the game, the fan translation came out in, I believe, 2011. And then I finally got to play the game and gave it a chance. And yeah, I've known about this game since about the late 2000s. I didn't really give it a fair chance until after the translation came out. And I love this game. It's super adorable and fun and quirky, and it has that charm of a Zelda game without being a Zelda game. And it, brings in another classic game for the Game Boy.
What the Game Boy needs at times.
I think the Game Boy is a lot better than a lot of people state it as.
I agree.
Because, sorry, I don't mean to make this in my own little...
No, you're fine. I mean, I love the Game Boy. Don't take it that way. But I just think that Game Boy needs every system needs games like this.
No, of course. I thank you. I thank you for clarifying that. Because I've known people who are, popular in online circles, and I do enjoy his work to most degrees. Like the Angry Video Game Nerd, where I remember him saying that, he thought of the Game Boy as just, the Game Boy is just watered down NES ports, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, that's bullshit. The Game Boy was so much more than that, and I can think of at least 10 games that aren't just watered down NES ports that are genuinely good games. And I'm not just talking about Mario Land or Pokemon. There are some genuine classics on the Game Boy. Sorry, I didn't mean to make.
Oh no, you're fine. No.
I mean, your story is a lot like mine. Mine was, well, you're not going to waste the TV playing Nintendo or Super Nintendo. We're watching sports, we're watching a family.
Yeah, exactly.
You play your Game Boy. Yeah. Or when we put the Super Nintendo in a different room, it's why are you being antisocial?
Yeah, exactly.
Come in the room and play my Game Boy.
I was actually kind of lucky, because here's the thing. I don't think I had this the same way that some kids nowadays have it, where their parents are the kids that grew up in the 80s and 90s, and they're probably a lot more aficionated, quote-unquote, gamers. My parents were usually pretty cool about video game stuff, especially my mom. In fact, my mom would usually play on my Game Boy when I wasn't playing Game Boy. Whenever my parents separated for a while in the 90s, so my dad lived separately from my mom. But whenever we'd go to my dad's place, and I'd bring my Game Boy with me with some games, and then when my mom would come to pick us up or whatever, she would as she's hanging out waiting for myself and my two brothers, and hanging out with my dad, she would be playing Tetris on my Game Boy, and she was hooked on Tetris. She loved Tetris and Dr. Mario and a couple of other games, but especially Tetris. She loved the puzzle games, and my mom would usually play my Game Boy a lot too. So I was kind of lucky. I was usually kind of lucky when my parents were all oh, you want another video game? Or, crap like that. Or, oh, they're so expensive. My parents were usually pretty cool, especially my mom when it came to video game stuff.
Yeah, my folks were just talking about Game Boy now. Mike, sorry. No, mine was the same way. I got Game Boy for Christmas '92, and then my aunt kept playing, my cool younger aunt kept playing my Tetris, and my parents were like, you got to give Vince back his toy. That's his toy. And they made her go drive out in the snow and go buy her own Game Boy and Tetris. God. So we played 2-player Tetris that Christmas.
Hell yeah.
That's how addicted my grandma or my aunt got to that game.
Nice.
Yeah, and then we would always rent a video game every weekend. My family would go, we'd rent movies from Blockbuster, and I always got the video game.
Yeah, same.
So yeah, it very similar experience. And then Game Boy, we also had a daycare, so we traded around games, during the day. So we all brought our little cases with 5 or 6 games, but I got to play everything. I played so much Link's Awakening before I ever owned it, and that's probably why we were talking earlier. I knew everything, all the weird obtuse things about Link's Awakening, because I just played it at daycare.
I didn't realize.
And I didn't have, because we were talking, Kyle. We were talking about how this game is very obtuse in a lot of ways.
Oh God, yes.
But not as, Link's Awakening is still very obtuse. I just had friends to talk about it with, and I didn't with this game. So,
and it's engraved in our head, so we don't understand. We don't realize the things anymore because we look at it with such rose-colored glasses. We can't see it.
Like my son is how do you know there's a secret block there in Mario? Because there is. It just is. I don't know what to tell you, man. I've known this. It's been in my bones.
I didn't realize with this conversation how much of a spoiled piece of shit I apparently was, because I was usually lucky when I got to rent a game. I was usually allowed to rent 2 video games.
Oh, wow.
That and plus, it was usually a game I would like and a game my brothers would like. Because, I was, I'm a transgender man, so I grew up as a girl. And, my mom would oh, do you want to rent something cute or something? And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. And then my brothers would a wrestling game or a sports video game or something. Sometimes we would have the same taste, and we all might rent Street Fighter together or something, but otherwise it was usually that. So
yeah, I was definitely I was sick kind of kid, and my mom was look, I have to work from home. Like, just I'll rent you as many video games as you want. Just stay out of my hair. Like there was a renting like Blades of Steel for Game Boy, and all sorts of ridiculous things. Yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah.
It was a great life.
I mean, Game Boy has some really good things about it, So.
I mean, like Jeremy Parrish came out with like the Game Boy Works books,
Oh, yeah.
I looked on the cover and I was like, I played every one of those games and not as wrong. Like Alleyway, everything, all the not black box games, but I played like every single one of them. And I must have been passing it around at daycare.
I am a huge fan of Jeremy Parrish's works. That man is fantastic.
Yeah. But and then so of course, like Kyle, I'm sure you're the same as me. I'm just like, I love Link's Awakening. I want more Game Boy games that are neat. Like, give me something. And so like this game from the Link's Awakening team is here, and I'm like, maybe this will do it for me.
A couple more things I want to talk about the game. Like, I like how you have to go get the Power Glove. I'm assuming it wasn't called the Power Glove, but I appreciate it.
Oh, no, it was.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no, Zelda totally ripped that off.
That's cool.
Oh, that's weird, because that doesn't exist in any of the prior 3 Zeldas, does it? Like any
not the Link to the Past.
Not Link to the Past. I don't know Adventure
the Power
Link
Glove's
at all.
Link to the
No, it's in Oracle, isn't it? The Oracle games?
Yeah, but that's way later.
Yeah.
No, Power Glove is definitely in Link's Awakening, and then there's like a level 2 upgrade to it. I think you could there's a Power Glove in Link's Awakening that you can just pick up pots like normally without a power bracelet. Yeah.
It's Power Bracelet in Link's Awakening. It is some kind of glove in the original in Link to the Past.
It's some type of lifting mechanic though, yeah.
Yeah, it's a glove. The second one is a mitten, because somebody spent a lot of time staring at that instruction booklet when he was a kid.
Yeah.
A lot of time. So
and Link's Awakening is an L1 and L2 power bracelet. Yeah.
Yes.
There we go. We solved.
It's been a while. All right. I do want to talk about, like, you get that, then you have to go back to the island. I forget, you get a more powerful glove, and then I do like it when you get the thing to control a mammoth. For some reason, he made something to control a mammoth. Like, he knew you would need this. Okay. It was cute, though. How they're like, if you go down this path, if you wake up the mammoth, you got to deal with it. And on your way back, you wake up the mammoth. I mean, it was just a cute little thing, I thought.
Yeah, I liked also that because that area was like, it's cold. It's too cold to transform into your frog or your snake form. So I'm like, this is very much like Breath of the Wild. Like, it's cold. Like, it's dangerous here.
That was a stretch, but I'll take it.
And then you go to like a mining town or something, which felt very much to me like out of Live Alive.
They're all drunk.
Yeah, I love that. They're all hiccuping and stuff. And there's Playboy bunny maids.
Maybe that's what honestly did it. There's a lot of booze in this game, and I'm not sure.
I mean, you can change it. You can change it. They're all drunk on milk.
No, there's no ESRB at this time either. I know like alcohol references were like very much like a thing. Like that potion is called wine, but I think that's a translation thing. You can get around that with the ESRB. But like,
yeah,
are there a lot of drunks in video and Game Boy games? I don't know. In '92. But again, that's a change thing. You can do that for
they can make it
for our puritanical morals.
I mean, things were different in the '90s, not in a good way.
I mean, ESRB will instantly ding you still if you have any alcohol in it. Like, I was just listening to a dude talk about Cult of the Lamb, and like they're like, Cult of the Lamb had like a rating, and they're like, well, we're gonna add a bar to it, and like that's gonna fuck the rating. It's gonna put it into an M rating. Like, don't do that. You can call it like potions or something, but if you call it alcohol, then it's gonna have to change our rating. We have to refile with the ESRB. So please do not add alcohol to this game in a patch or a DLC.
I get it, but I still don't like it.
America's stupid. We're stupid.
Yes, we are. As we find out more and more every day, we are.
Kyle laughs in Canadian.
Yes. I have thought about it. I'm like, it wouldn't be that far of a drive to sell my house and move up north. But
good luck.
Not going to happen. But I have a son here that I couldn't take with me, so I wouldn't go anywhere ever. But the thought has crossed my mind a few times, going,
It's a bit of a hike from Texas.
Well, you just go south, but I wouldn't recommend that.
I mean, there's parts of Mexico that are really nice, though, too.
Yes. So. I know way too much about the drug cartels, so that doesn't help the thing for me.
All right.
Way too much. All right, what else? So the game eventually, I do like it how you are rich and then you lose your money like 2 different times in this game. I thought that was cute. I like it that you find out that the guy in charge of the empire that captured the princess and took over the castle, he's a giant snake. I thought that was funny.
What did you guys think of that final boss fight with the snake?
I liked it.
I also liked it.
I enjoyed like when you get the robot and stuff. I guess I was just a little disappointed with the final round when he has the shield and you just charge at him.
They had to do something to make it that you're actually pressing a button.
Yeah, I guess.
Because the rest of the combat of this game is just touch and we fight. That's how I took it.
Yeah, boss battles I feel like are they're very hard to put into this game, as we already mentioned. Like without just being like you have to do it perfectly or you're gonna die.
Yeah, so I appreciate that it had the 3 different rounds, that it made it unique, and that yes, it is kind of stupid that you are pressing A to attack in between like the whatever the hell was happening, but it had to do something to make you feel invested. Is how I took it.
I get that. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I'm fine with that, but I understand where you're coming from. Where you're like, it should be like the rest of the game. Why is it different? Type of thing. But that's just cute. I just like the fact that you're fighting a giant snake that wants the reason why you turn into a frog because you're easier to eat, or where he eats the frog and then the frogs turn back into humans and are fighting him from the inside, even though all those knights are dead because they were eaten by stomach acid. Wait, or do snakes not have stomach acid?
Oh God.
Oh,
I'm assuming they do. So because they do swallow their food whole and it gets disintegrated eventually. So yeah. But it's cool. The robot thing is cool. How he tells you I'm working on a robot. Come back later. I was like, oh, I know that's going to pay off at some point.
That's funny. I remember when we played Link to the Past, my friends were like, we've been playing for hours, and like that dude is still not done with that super bomb because he hadn't like tripped the flag for the dude to be done. They thought it was like a time thing, and I think they were thinking the super bomb was going to be like the thing that got him to the next thing, and not they had to do something else because they're like, we've been playing for weeks, hours of this game. He's still not done, man. It's hilarious.
Well, we were young and didn't know any better.
I know.
So I do have one story that I want to tell real quick when we were on the Game Boy topic earlier about sharing with your friends. I'll never forget, I had Pokemon Red and Blue and Yellow, and I had a setup where I had a chair, and my Game Boy Color was right there in the charger to plug it in, and I had like a little 3-drawer plastic drawer thing. That's where I kept my Game Boy games. And I had a friend that I met in 7th grade of middle school who stole one of my Pokemon games. He's like, I didn't take it. I don't know what happened to it. It was like, it was there. Then you came over, and then it wasn't there anymore.
Oh, that's awful. I'm sorry.
I mean, I just always remember that. And he would never admit that he took it. I think he took other stuff too. And finally, I'm like, we're done hanging out. Like, don't come over anymore.
That coward.
I didn't talk to him after. We were friends for a little bit, and then I'm like, I'm done with you. Like, I don't like you. You're a thief and a liar. So we are done.
Just like Link's Awakening, you called him thief for the rest of his life.
I did. I still do.
Did you zap
I know his
him
real
with
name, but
lightning?
we're going to go with thief.
Did you zap him with lightning?
I did not, but I zapped our friendship.
Okay, good.
So, and anything you guys want to say about this game? Or Kyle, is there anything you want to add?
I really enjoyed this game, and I thought it was very clever and cute. I also really liked the soundtrack and the graphic. Really good graphical showcase for the Game Boy. Like, just nice sprite work. Very good stuff. This is such a nice little, just well-developed game.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Same. Still can't believe you bought this game in Japan, Joseph.
On a lark, not even knowing what you were buying. That's insane to me.
That's back then. That's what you did. You didn't. I mean, early days of the internet, you just kind of went with what it looked like, and you just grabbed it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I still have bought games because of the cover art back when GameStop sold cheap games when it wasn't a toy store. So, that reminds me. I was in a GameStop today because I was picking up Kingdom Hearts 3, and I did look at the Funko Pops, and they had a copy of Game Boy games, and I'm just like, I don't like this. Like, I'm not that I'm upset that games are being sold, but I'm like, you're GameStop. You guys are not a retro game market, and your selection of retro games was like less than 20. And a Super Nintendo game, and like Star Fox, and other things. I'm like, this is not. I don't like this. I don't.
Were they expensive too? Because I remember back in the days when they were like Funko Land before they turned into GameStop here in my town, and I bought like Earthbound and Star Fox for like $14.99.
Oh,
wow!
Sick.
I know, right?
No, Star Fox was like $10. Mario Land 2 was like $28. And all I could think of,
they gave me $3 for that back in '98. But okay.
All I could think about when I'm standing there, like, you could play this on your phone. Like, why are you buying this cartridge? Like, you don't even know if it's real coming from them. But
I got my RGB or my Ambernick. What is it called? The RG35XXX SP, the Game Boy SP one that I played this on. It is
how is that?
It's amazing. It's so good.
I've been meaning to get an Ambernick myself. I just don't know what model I want to get per se.
Yeah, I had a different one that my son ended up taking that actually could play like PSP games and it had like 2 joysticks and stuff. This one just has like a D-pad and 4 buttons and then the shoulder buttons. I have the SP that looks like the Game Boy SP.
Okay.
It's a little bigger, but it still fits in my cargo shorts because I still wear cargo shorts. And it is like stellar for like, I have 2 kids, so if the kids are quiet for like a second, I can play like a little bit of this game and then clamshell it back up, put it in my pocket when they're like ready to do something else. So it's like the perfect handheld device. The screen is much bigger. It's a really and it comes with like a ton of preloaded games on it. And then you can put more games on it. But yeah, it's a stellar device for playing this. And that's how I played this game, was on my my Ambernick.
I mean, sometimes I get interested, but I'm just
I'm done with buying cartridges, especially because we've talked about this, but they don't go back to the original. They don't go back to the original devs, and especially for a game like this, like there's no way to buy this ever.
Yeah.
No, and there won't be. This will never be re-released, translated. They don't care. So, and that's fine.
It's on the Japanese NSO. They're not going to be doing a full remake of this for us, which is fine. But
yeah.
And I think did it turn out that the princess you were trying to rescue this whole time was actually the witch in disguise or something? Or under
I remember that. Yeah.
I mean, it's important not while you're playing this game, but yeah. I think that's. Let's go to Shelf Stacker Box. And Kyle, why don't you go first?
This is going to be on my shelf. This is just a solid little Game Boy gem, and I would be very proud to have it on my shelf. This would go with my other favorite Game Boy games like Burger Time Deluxe, Lock and Chase. As you may notice, a lot of Data East games, as I think Data East made some of their greatest games on Game Boy. And Side Pocket, of course, the Mario Land games. I know I said earlier that like I can name 10 games without Mario Land, but the Mario Land games, just lots of classic games. Donkey Kong 94. Yeah, this would easily go on my shelf with those games.
Okay. And Joseph.
I am going to put this in the stack. I think it is a solid game, but as we mentioned, there are some very obtuse things about it, like the gatekeeping, but I also understand that's just a product of the time.
Yeah.
One thing that we didn't mention that is just a big pet peeve of mine in games in general is when games try to force a stealth section into it. There's a section in this game we didn't mention where you lose all your equipment.
Oh, yeah.
That scene was really getting on my nerves. Once you get past that, it picks up after that. But like I said, it is a very solid game. If you do get a chance to emulate it, or for whatever reason someone's in Japan, definitely pick this up, give it a go. You won't be disappointed.
Okay. I'll go next. I'm going to put this on the shelf. I had a really good time with this cute little game. Like, this was a fun experience. I'll never play it again. I am happy that I experienced it, got to talk about it, and it just was a really cute little game. I beat it in like 2 or 3 days, which was really nice. It's nice and short. Took me like 3 hours or so. So no complaints there. And Vince.
I'll probably stack it. I thought, as y'all said, I think it's pretty enjoyable. I don't think it's nearly as good as Link's Awakening, which is partially what I was hoping it would be. It's a great talking point. I think it's worth checking out. I think it's definitely like one of those like unsung, like, oh yeah, Game Boy's really pretty good list that Kyle was mentioning. It's just not like my favorite and not my type of, not my entire style of game that I'd pursue further. Yeah, for what it was pretty fun.
All right.
I don't hate it.
Good. I'm glad. And then that just brings us the plugs. And Joseph, where can people find you at?
Right now, you can just find me in the Discord, find me on my Facebook. I am in the process of putting together something. I just hoping to get this done soon.
Okay. I couldn't remember if you had anything to plug, so I wanted to ask. And Vince.
You can find me on the Some of My Friends Read Comics podcast. It's a podcast where we, every other week, check out a monumental comic. So we usually cover like the Alan Moore Swamp Things, the Death of Gwen Stacy. Mike was on an episode where we covered the Super Metroid Nintendo Power comic.
Come on again.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a time. And my co-host Chris has been on all of your Sandman episodes, which I think y'all just finished. And
by the time you hear this, yes, it's been released.
Excellent. Cool. And then I also, I just started a TikTok it's for Cool Uncle Vince. It's just talking about weird video games my mom found follows me. So if you look, I don't know if the app shows you who they follow, but if they do, you can find me there, Cool Uncle Vince. I talk about stupid things like Adam Sandler's only video game, Little Nicky for the Game Boy Color, which is fucking bonkers. It has a scene where you can shoot pineapples up Hitler's butt. It's quite the thing. So you can find that on my TikTok, Cool Uncle Vince.
You do make better TikTok. Mine are so stupid, but I make really dumb.
It's a fun time to make stupid things.
I mean, mine is literally just put record at whatever game I'm playing and take a crappy little video of it. That's been my TikTok.
I may have made a podcast. I may have made a video using the Old Spice, like "Look at your man, look at me," with Bowser. That basically just ended with Bowser. I'm on a horse. It only existed for that one joke because he rode a horse in an equestrian game for Mario Sports Superstars. It's very dumb.
Okay.
So check that out.
All right. And Kyle.
You can find me at Blue Sky, at chibiufo.bsky.social. You can find me on Instagram at chibiufo. And you can also find my podcast, the Unidentified Flying Obsession Podcast, or the UFO Podcast, wherever you find your normal podcasts. Whatever podcast catcher you have, it should be able to get my podcast. And if you can't find it, or your podcast catcher can't find it, let me know, and I will hook you up.
Join our Discord, because there are links in the Discord in a tab, and also be a link in the show notes for this too. So definitely go check out his show. All right. If you enjoyed this episode, over 650 other episodes of this podcast. You can find everything we do on Podbean. Type in Zelda. You will see all our Zelda episodes. You search whatever. You never know. We cover all sorts of random movies, video games, just whatever the hell and people convince me to do or I convince people to do. You never really know. I don't even know what the hell is going to be on the show half the damn time. We just did Dirty Harry a couple nights ago. So weird
But
shit.
you were feeling lucky, punk.
I had never planned to put Dirty Harry on this podcast. It just kind of happened because Patreon and my friend. So weird shit happened. Like this game. Never thought I'd be talking about this game, but this at least fits the content.
The theme.
Yeah, if it fits
I
the
doubt
theme.
your mom would have found this game.
Me too. Yeah, so want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Helena at Hell Hatsphere. You can follow her on TikTok, Twitch, and Instagram. You will see a link to her link tree in the show notes. Definitely go check her out. She's TikTok famous. So, and want to give a shout out to Bill Tucker at A Gamer Looks at 4. You definitely go check out his show too. Tune into him. He got plenty of Zelda for you too. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, squirrel videos mostly, YouTube, audio only. And I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
You.
Later.